let's put some meat on this on these bones and put some numbers in here. And these are just sort of just plucked out of the air. We've got a couple of £1,000 for premises. That's very cheap for London. You might not be in London, so whatever. You may not have premises. You might be working from a garden shed, in which case or your garage, in which case you've got really low overheads, and well done. But here's the thing, you might be wondering about what you have to do to get premises. If you had premises, what kind of an impact would they have on your daily rate? And this is the kind of thing where spreadsheets come in really handy for this. A couple of £1,000 for rent, £600 for utilities, £1,200 for phone. That's quite high, but maybe you're paying your wife's phone through the business as well. Nobody has ever done that, of course. £600 for general office costs, £1,600 for equipment. You know, you're going to buy gear, even things like consumable gear like blades, they've got to go in there as well, so allow for them. We've allowed £1,500 for repairs, it's quite high, £1,400 for vehicle repayments, road tax, that kind of thing, £1,000 for travel and parking, £250 for professional development, £400 for advertising and promotion, a couple of hundred for subscriptions and memberships, £1,200 for business insurance, public liability, buildings insurance, that sort of thing, £800 for professional services, fees and accountancy, £1,200 for subcontract, and £3,000 for pension contributions. You're going to take £18,000 drawing, £18,000 of salary, that's £1,500 a month. Again, you don't pay tax on that, you pay tax on profits at the end of the year. If you add all that up, it comes to £34,950, big number. If you divide that by 200, the number of billable days we think we're going to get, well, that gives you a viable day rate of 175. Now, it could be that you're working in an area where 175 quid a day is just unachievable. None of us work in isolation, in which case you've got to go back and revisit that, either try and figure out if you're going to work more days at a lower day rate. Maybe the going day rate for your area is 150, in which case, well, do you have to work 250 days to get that down? Well, actually, it's not that much. It's more like 240, not even that, 230. Yeah, 230 days a year. That's still quite a big ask. I'd be more inclined to see where you can cut costs, or just to try putting your day rate up. Lots of people, lots of comments came in on the pricing video that said, yeah, that's all very well for you in London, but you can't charge that round here. And my question for you is, how do you know? Have you tried, or is it just some other guy telling you that you can't charge that round here? Maybe have a little trial where you start pitching your business to the professions, the doctors and dentists and the lawyers and solicitors in your area. You know there's areas where they live. Try leafleting a few of those. Try putting some nice cards through the doors. See if you can up your day rate a little bit. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is by cutting costs. If you don't have premises, for example, so no rent or rates, no utilities. What else did we have in here that we trimmed back? You're not going to do any professional development. You don't pay anything like that for travel or parking. You haven't got any... we cut the advertising down significantly. You don't do any subscriptions or memberships. You're not going to do any subcontract because you've got friends or the family who can help you out. And you're relatively new to the game, so you're not making anything like that in pension contributions. How much of a difference does that make? Well, suddenly, by making those cuts, you get down to a viable day rate for 200 days a year at 141 quid. That's interesting. Doesn't mean you have to charge £141. You can still charge 150 if that's your going rate for the area, or you can charge more and see what happens. And that's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you've figured out how to use this sort of spreadsheet, how to do the calculations. It's a simple list of headings on the left-hand side of the likely things that you'll be spending money on over the year, a guess or an educated guess at what those annual tallies will be, plus what you take as drawings, as salary, and you just divide that by the number of billable days you expect. As I say, I'd suggest 200 as a starting point, and that just gives you a viable day rate. It's as simple as that. Now, I do have a slightly longer video on this for my Patreon supporters. They'll also have access to a copy of this actual spreadsheet if you want it. But that is just for the Patreon supporters. I don't do a great deal for my Patreon supporters other than continue to make videos. So this is just a little special for them. Thank you very much for my Patreon supporters. I do appreciate all the support you give me. The lengthier video for the Patreon pals will also include a set of figures that are much closer to my actual outgoings, just to give you an idea of what an actual one-man band business in London actually costs to run. You don't need to pay a great deal to be a Patreon supporter. The tiers start at $2 a month, and obviously I'm very grateful to anybody who does support me through the Patreon process. But that's it for this week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it freely, and do consider subscribing. If you haven't already done so, well, hey, just check back on a Friday when there's always something new up at noon. I'll see you then. Take care.